Hi there, my name is Nikki. Welcome back to With Her Nose Stuck in a Book. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying the Christmas season and the run up to Christmas. Hope you're all organised. I'm not. I'm okay. I'm better than I have been in other years. I've still to wrap everything, but I think I've got most of the things. I've got to go and get a few people's gifts, but I've got everything in for the kids. I think I probably will end up buying more, as we always do. But yeah, I think I'm pretty organised. Everyone in the house is off now, so the plan in the next few days in the lead up to Christmas is to get the presents wrapped, get the house organised, do all the prep for Christmas dinner and stuff like that, and just hopefully chill out for a bit, because it's been a stressful year, and yeah, a bit of chill out time would be nice, to just relax. Today we're going to be looking at my book haul for the last 3 months. So we're looking at October, November and December. So it is quite a lot of books to get through. Don't judge me, this is 3 months worth. And they're 4 different things. So as I've mentioned previously, I do study literature and I'm a member of the Hardcore Literature Book Club, so I do buy quite a lot of books for those. So I've got them in kind of groups. So I've got some children's literature here, classics, some kind of more modern classics, contemporary books, non-fiction, and then books that I've bought for next year's Hardcore Literature Book Club, and then I've got plays and poetry. So we'll be going through those today, and what I think I'll start with is the children's literature. If I have mentioned them in previous videos this month, so for instance my December TBR video or roundup videos for October and November, I will only go over them briefly in this video, so don't worry, there won't be a lot of repetition, but I'll start with children's literature. So first here, I've got the Nutcracker, and as I said, this is on my December TBR, and I'm hoping to read that this evening or tomorrow. I'll just read the blurb on the back for you because I did say why I got it and stuff in my last video. For the little girl Marie, the gift of a handsomely decorated nutcracker from a mysterious uncle sets the stage for Christmas Eve like no other. That night, her extraordinary present comes to life, defends her from the taunting Mouse King, and whisks her off to the kingdom of dolls. So I'm looking forward to reading that over the weekend. As I say, I've never read it before, but I have nutcrackers everywhere in this house, so yes, I should read that. Sorry, the pile of books is so large here that I have nowhere to put the ones that I've spoken about. Next up is The Magician's Nephew. Again, I went into this in my TBR video for December. I do want to read the full set of Narnia books that over the next year. The Magician's Nephew is coming out as a film at the end of next year, so I wanted to revisit that, and thought it was a good one for winter because Narnia is like in perpetual winter, and the blurb for this one is: on a daring quest to save a life, 2 friends are hurled into another world where an evil sorceress seeks to enslave them, but then the lion Aslan songs weaves itself into the fabric of a new land, a land that will be known as Narnia, and in Narnia all things are possible. So yeah, that's that one. The next one I did briefly mention in a video, but just a couple of the stories in it that I read after reading Rebecca. I read Cinderella and Bluebeard. This is The Complete Fairy Tales by Charles Perrault, and I believe he is French, and he's one of the kind of main guys that wrote a lot of the fairy tales that we grow up on today. In the same vein, I got, so I'll speak about these three together. So I got The Complete Fairy Tales by Charles Perrault. I got The Complete Fairy Tales by the Brothers Grimm. And I got The Complete Fairy Tales of Hans Christian Andersen. So yeah, as you can see, these two are quite hefty. This one not so much. But yeah, these are kind of the three of the main people who wrote the fairy tales of, like, basically that we know today. A lot of the Disney movies and other children's movies are based on these stories. They're, not going to lie, a lot of them are very different, a lot more brutal, a lot more gruesome than the Disney-fied versions that we have today. And I'm looking forward over the next year to dipping into these and possibly doing a couple of videos on comparing the old school version to the kind of modern version that we tell our kids today and that we hear today. I think I will also probably pick up Aesop's Fables and see if there's anybody else in the kind of fairy tale genre that I need to get. But yeah, I'm starting with these three, and again, you can just dip in and out of them. You don't need to read them cover to cover. Each story is probably about 5 or 6 pages long, definitely less than 10. So like you can just pick them up for 5 minutes at a time and kind of read the story, put it down, but yeah, I'm hoping to dip into these over the next year and do some comparisons. Put these down on the floor because there is no room on this table. Then I got Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. The reason I picked this up is because my daughter dressed up as the Mad Hatter for Halloween this year, and she made her costume entirely by herself. She didn't buy a pre-made costume, she put the outfit together. She made herself a big Mad Hatter's hat from cardboard and fabric and buttons and cards and all these different things, and just bits of material everywhere, and everyone loved the costume. And then she got the chance to help out with her friend's dance group's show, which was Alice in Wonderland, and help with the costume, help design the costumes, help make the costumes a little bit, and got her input into that, and kind of really discovered a love for designing costumes and clothes this year. So when she was doing that, I picked up this because it's got the illustrations of like the kind of original illustrations from the original publication. So yeah, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll. I hope to read that next year because I don't have time this year. But yeah, we got the book just to have a kind of flick through and look at the illustrations and the things that the characters wore. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to reading this because I don't think I've ever read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I've obviously seen different movie versions, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that because I think this will be very different from the Disney version as well. Next up and last in the children's literature category, I've got The Wind in the Willows. I don't know if I mentioned this in a previous video, but I picked it up because Ben from Hardcore Literature Book Club kept mentioning it because he's just had a baby daughter and he was reading this to his daughter, and I wanted to pick it up and read it. So I did start reading it in November, so it might be in my November TBR video. Again, everybody knows the story about Rat Mole and Badger, Mr. Toad, etc. So I did start reading it in November, and I got about halfway through, maybe a little less, and then the reading list for the Hardcore Literature Book Club for next year, the reading list got announced, and this is on it as a standalone lecture. So I thought I would stop and keep it for reading with the book club next year, and I think that'll be in the kind of springtime, start of summertime, if I remember rightly. But yeah, I was really enjoying it so far. And the blurb for this one is: far from fading with time, Kenneth Grahame's classic tale of fantasy has attracted a growing audience in each generation. Rat, Mole, Badger, and the preposterous Mr. Toad, with his poop 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 road-hogging new motor car, have brought delight to many through the years, and with their odd adventures on and by the river, and at the imposing residence of Toad Hall. So yeah, as I say, I'm really enjoying it, and look forward to reading it with book club next year. Which brings me to my next set of books, and that's the ones that I've bought from the reading list for the book club next year. So if you haven't checked out Ben McAvoy's videos, he is on YouTube as well. I thoroughly, if you like reading, and you like reading classics, or like kind of the big books of literature, even like the more modern kind of big books, I would really recommend his videos. He does a lot of how to read videos, where he'll take a classic and he'll tell you how to read it. He'll tell you the kind of background, the history of around the time it was written and stuff like that, and what you should be looking to get out of it when you're reading it. He's got a lot of videos like that, and then the Patreon book group, he goes into more depth, and there's like weekly lectures on whatever part of the book you've read up to, but really insightful, really like a lot of really great life advice in there as well, and a lot of like kind of branching out to different subject areas. So you learn a lot about history of the time when books were set or books were written, a lot about the author's lives, a lot about like the kind of philosophical ideas behind things, how all different books are connected, like what influenced this writer when writing this book. Can you see Shakespeare in here? Can you see the Bible in here? Can you see how they were influenced by this writer type thing? So yeah, really interesting, and I would thoroughly recommend checking them out on YouTube first of all, and then if you're interested, obviously you can then move on and look at the Patreon. And I've bought 3 books for that so far. So the first book we'll be reading in January is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. I hadn't heard of this book until the reading list was announced, and a lot of the American members of the club were really excited about it. It's a big kind of American epic novel. So I'll just read the blurb at the back. It's a Pulitzer Prize winner, so there we go. Very, 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 very big. I think we're reading that across January and February, because it's very small writing. You just noticed, very, very small writing, and this is 866 pages long with very, very small writing. But yeah, so the blurb at the back says, immerse yourself in the gritty realism of the American frontier in this masterful epic from the screenwriter of Brokeback Mountain. This is the story of a group of audacious cowboys on a perilous cattle drive across a sprawling wilderness from Texas to Montana, bound by duty and hardened by the relentless frontier. So yeah, apparently this is a massively popular American novel. As I say, I hadn't heard of it, but since it got announced in the book club and I ordered it, I've noticed it on tables in Waterstone. Like, I've been in a few different Waterstones lately, and it's sitting there on the like novels everyone should read, and I'm like, how have I never noticed this before? But yeah, so looking forward to that, because I obviously it's about like kind of cowboys in the frontier, which might not sound like something I normally would read, but I think I've mentioned before that one of my favourite books of all time is True Grit, which I also plan to reread next year, and I might actually try and tie it in with around the time of reading this to just see the comparison. But yeah, Charles Portis's True Grit is one of my favourite books ever, and that's obviously a kind of western, as well, it's not kind of a western, it is a western, and I love that book. I also really like kind of John Steinbeck of Mice and Men, stuff like that. So yeah, hopefully I will enjoy this just as much. From seeing people's reactions to it being announced, it seems like it's a really really popular book. And I noticed also that Samuel reads on Instagram, and he does have a booktube now as well. He literally started a bookstagram a few months ago and has thousands and thousands of followers already, so do check him out. A lot of his content is just short content, and he's branching out now into YouTube to do longer content, but he has just started reading this and he's like, this is the most amazing book ever. So that's another account recommendation to follow that I've just discovered him in the last few weeks, and like his account has just blown up in 3 months. Like he started 3 months ago and he has an insane amount of followers already. So check him out, and yeah, check this out if you're interested. Next, while we're reading Lonesome Dove in the book club, we will be reading 3 plays from the Greek plays. If I can remember rightly, it is, I believe we're going to be reading Orestia and Medea and Oedipus the King from the Greek plays. So this is a volume that has 16 different plays in it. Yeah, 16 plays in it. So the 3 plays are all in this one volume, and obviously you can branch out and read a bit more if you enjoy them. But yeah, not read a lot of Greek tragedy plays. I did read some in English literature, but they're not like I haven't retained them in my mind basically. And obviously I know like the myths and stuff. My daughter's really into Greek mythology, so is Derek. So yeah, I know a lot of the stories, so I will be really interested in reading these and seeing what it's all about. Obviously the Greek plays tend to be tragedies, so yeah, looking forward to this. And again, it's another big hefty book, but I am only reading 3 of the 16 plays at the moment, so yeah, looking forward to that as well. And then the other book so far that I have for Hardcore Literature Book Club that I picked up is Finnegan's Wake. We were supposed to be reading this year. It's by James Joyce, but Ben obviously had his baby daughter and something had to go to give him his paternity leave, so this was the book that was taken out of the schedule, and we're reading it this year instead. But instead of like a series of lectures, it's just going to be a standalone lecture. So I picked it up just now because although the lecture isn't till later on in the year, Joyce is known as being like one of the most difficult writers to read. So I thought I would take it slower and just read it over the course of the year up until the point when the lecture is. Not gonna lie, I am a bit intimidated by Joyce. I did read him in uni, but it was what was it again? The Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man, is that right? Let me just check if there's a list of these books in here. Yeah, Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man. So that's like the only Joyce that I have read, which is one of his less difficult ones. Ulysses is also huge and very difficult. They have that in the backlog of the book club, which they studied it when I wasn't a member, but all the lectures are there for you to go back, and if you want to read books from the back catalogue you can, and you can watch and listen to the lectures. But yeah, that is why I bought this, and I'll just let you know what it's all about. In Chapelizod? Am I saying that right? A suburb in Dublin. An innkeeper and his family are sleeping. Around them and their dreams there swirls a vortex of world history, of ambition and failure, desire and transgression, pride and shame, rivalry and conflict, gossip and mystery. This is a book that reinvents the novel and plays fantastic games with the language to tell the story of one man's fall and resurrection. In the intimate drama of Humphrey Chimpton Earwicker, that's an awesome name, Humphrey Chipton Earwicker, and his wife Anna Livia, the character of Ireland itself takes form. Joyce called time and the river and the mountains the real heroes of this book, and its organic structure and extraordinary musicality embody his vision. It's both an outrageous epic and a wildly inventive comedy that rewards its readers with never-ending layers of meaning. Okay, I found it difficult to read the blurb there, so yeah, just looking through it, it does look, it's a very much a modernist novel, and modernist writers are notoriously love to make things difficult to read. So yeah, I'm very intimidated by this, but hopefully that's why I've got it now, to kind of take my time with it and just read it slowly up until the time where we're getting the lecture. So quickly I'll just tell you about these two books. I got second hand, and again, this is just another little play that I wanted to revisit because I read it, I believe, in uni. And it's Liz Lockhead, who is a Scottish author and playwright, and it's Mary Queen of Scots got her head chopped off, and also in this volume there is Dracula, which is so it's two plays. So basically, Mary Queen of Scots got her head chopped off as reimagining the life of Mary Queen of Scots in the 16th century. And then Dracula is a kind of retelling, obviously, of the Dracula story. So yeah, I'm really excited to read that. Plays are great to just read in an afternoon. And this year I do want to widen my reading, so I want to read a bit more poetry, a bit more plays, some essays, stuff like that, not just novels. So picked up those, so I'll have that. I've got a few other plays on my shelf that I want to read. I've got the Shakespeare plays also, and obviously I've got my volume there of the Greek plays, so I've got plenty of plays to be getting on with. As I say, I want to read some essays and stuff as well. I've got volumes of essays on my shelf as well, and then I've got a good few poetry books already, but I got this, which is the Norton Anthology of Poetry, which a lot of people use in uni, and basically it just takes you through poetry from, this one I think goes from, let's see when the first poem is. Yeah, so we're starting with Beowulf, which is also actually on the Hardcore Literature Book Club this year. But I have my copy of Beowulf up there. I read Beowulf in uni, so I don't need to buy that one. But it'll be interesting to see what I think of Beowulf again as an adult. It was the first thing I read in uni in first year English, so I literally went into first year English and had to read this old English epic poem, which was I think about 70 pages long, maybe 100, I can't remember, but very, very long poem in Old English was my introduction to university English literature. So this takes you from Beowulf right through to the kind of modern time in poetry. So it's a great way of just seeing the history of poetry and how it's evolved, and again, you can just dip in and out, read a couple of poems, put it back down. But I got this just to kind of broaden my reading, and so that I can have this and be able to study poems and read poems, and I just want to kind of branch out from just reading novels. So next, my next pile I will show you is the classics that I've bought. Again, like I said, I have been studying literature and I'm in the book club, so these are combinations of ones that I'm studying and ones that are from the back catalogue of the book club. So the ones that I've recently spoke about in videos I won't go too deeply into. I've already spoke about The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I picked up this copy of it, which is the Norton Critical Edition. I think I've mentioned these before. They're great if you're studying the books, because they've like the book tends to be about like half or even less of the volume. Obviously this one's quite thin for a Norton Critical Edition, but it's because The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is so short in itself. So let me just check here. Yeah, so because the pages are quite big, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde literally takes up this much. So it's like 54 pages, and then this much is all, that's the introduction, that's the book, and then this is all the critical commentary, like essays on it, reviews from the time, notes from the manuscript, letters from the author to other people, like just all different information on the background to the story. So I picked up that for Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I also picked it up for Emma. As you can see, the Emma one is much bigger because Emma is a much bigger novel, but again, only half of this is Emma, and then the other half is all information surrounding the novel. So I won't go into that too much because I did just cover Emma in my last roundup for November. Another one that I've recently mentioned is The Christmas Carol. I plan to read this on Sunday and then listen to the lecture on it on Sunday night. Classic Christmas story. It's very short. This has actually got 5 different Dickens Christmas stories in it, so like literally only the first kind of, I think it's like 70 odd pages, 80, no, yeah, 82 pages is Christmas Carol, and then there's another 4 different stories, so it'd be nice to kind of read one of them each year. But yeah, so I'll be reading Christmas Carol at the weekend, but I won't go into it because I've mentioned it in the last couple of videos. Another one that I've mentioned recently is The Picture of Dorian Gray, Oscar Wilde, and if you've seen that video you will know that I definitely recommend this book along with Frankenstein. They're great to read in kind of September, October time in the Halloween spooky period. But yeah, so I picked up these for those so I got these in October, in October to read in October, but Frankenstein I ended up not finishing till start of November. But yeah, so again, picked up these for that reason, and I've thoroughly enjoyed them. So these are ones that I haven't read yet, or one of them I have read before, but I just wanted a different copy. So that is The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, and this is basically a short story. It's a very, very short story, so this is, again, it's got lots of other stories in it. But The Yellow Wallpaper is about this woman in I want to say the 1800s, and she is locked up in an attic by her husband, who's a doctor, because she's had this breakdown, this mental breakdown, and what he prescribes is for her to just basically sit in bed and do absolutely nothing, because any sort of excitement is just going to cause her female brain to be overwhelmed and cause a further breakdown, and she is sitting in this room and that they've rented for the summer, and she's basically slowly goes mad, like from kind of being isolated and the fact that she's in this room with yellow wallpaper and the patterns. She starts seeing things in the patterns of the wallpaper. It's just a very good commentary on how women's health and mental health in particular was viewed at that time by male doctors, which is probably still an issue today. It's still a thing that's spoken about today. This is the one that I have read before, but my copy that I got from, I got this copy from Amazon, and it was terrible. It was literally just the story by itself in this little tiny thin volume, and the spacing and everything was out. There was so many typos in it, blah blah blah. So I got this little Collins Classics version. Collins Classics versions are really good because you can pick them up for a couple of pounds each. They're really cheap, and but still kind of good quality versions. And yeah, you get all, like, pretty much any classic you can get in a Collins Classic version. Another Norton's Critical Edition thing I got was Inferno, Dante's Inferno. Just when I was reading Jane Eyre, and then I was reading Wuthering Heights and Frankenstein, just reading other classics made me really want to read this and the next book that I have on my list, because there's so many references to these books. It is it's like a classic, a kind of epic poem style. Like, it's a long poem about your kind of descent into hell, going through all the levels of descent from earth down into the depths of hell. And yeah, I've got that one, and I have got John Milton's Paradise Lost, which obviously again is a very long poem, another epic poem, but this is a retelling of the Genesis story of the Bible, and Satan's fall, basically. And apparently Satan in Paradise Lost is one of the best characters in English literature. So yeah, I am looking forward to getting to these hopefully at some point this year. Like, I don't know, not this year, I keep saying this year as if 2026 is already upon us, but when I'm saying this year, I mean 2026. I'm not getting any of these books in 2025, unless it's one that I've already started reading. But yeah, when I'm saying this year, I mean the next year, 2026. I picked this up because I was in TK Maxx and it was $4.99, and so I just picked up The Age of Innocence, Edith Wharton. This is set in 19th century New York high society. It is the story of Newland Archer, who's engaged to the highly suitable May Welland, but finds his well-ordered life upset by the arrival of her cousin, the sophisticated and unconventional Countess Ellen Olenska, who has caused a scandal by leaving her marriage, and awakens in Newland's feelings he cannot control. So yeah, I just picked this up literally because I was in TK Maxx, and TK Maxx, if you haven't ever thought about that for picking up books, is really good. Obviously the selection is quite random because they just get in the stock that they get in and it's never the same, but they're really good for getting books at really good prices. Have a selection of classics, modern books. They've got like quite a lot. They get quite a lot of like kind of special edition versions of books in. So if like you're a collector of different editions of books, they're I would really recommend them. They've got some non-fiction books, coffee table books, like display books and stuff. But yeah, if you haven't ever thought of them for going book shopping, I would recommend TK Maxx because, as I say, the prices are really good. Next up, I was in Waterstones the other day and I picked up The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. Obviously this year I have read Jane Eyre and I've read Wuthering Heights. They were both rereads for me. I've never read anything by Anne Bronte, so she's next on my list from the Brontes. And this is about a woman who is running from an abusive marriage, and she brings her son, and they're staying in tenant of Wildfell. She's the tenant of Wildfell Hall, so they're staying in Wildfell Hall, and they're basically running from this abusive man. It says, this sensational, hard-hitting and passionate tale of marital cruelty sees a mysterious new tenant at Wildfell Hall. Helen Graham unmasked not as a wicked woman, as the local gossips would have it, but as the estranged wife of a brutal alcoholic bully, desperate to protect her son. So yeah, really good. Very popular at the time. And I also got Anne Bronte's other work, Agnes Grey. This is the one that was published alongside Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights at the time. This one is about it's a governess tale, so similar to her sisters, Jane Eyre. Governess tales were obviously really popular at the time. And this one says, when the young Agnes Grey takes up her first post as governess, she's full of hope. She believes she only has to remember myself at their age to win her pupils' love. Instead, she finds the young children she has to deal with completely unmanageable. They are, as she observes to her mother, unimpressible, incomprehensible creatures. In writing her first novel, Anne Bronte drew on her own experiences, and one can trace in the work many of the trials of the Victorian governess, often stranded far from home and treated with little respect by her employers, yet expected to control and educate her young charges. Agnes Grey looks at the childhood from nursery to adolescence, and it also charts the frustrations of a romantic love as Agnes starts to nurse warmer feelings towards local curate Mr. Weston. So yeah, looking forward to reading some Anne Bronte. And then I got these two little Penguin Little Black Classics, I believe they're called. You can get these as one volume with about, I think there's 150 of them, all in one like big long box. But I just picked up these two. One was Fyodor Dostoevsky's White Nights. It says on the back, two devastating Russian stories of solitude, unrequited love and depravity from beyond the grave. So yeah, there's White Nights and another story in here called it doesn't tell me what it's called. Bobok. So yeah, these little books are less than a fiver. As I say, two short stories in here, so I thought these would be great to just pick up when I don't want to be reading a full, I don't want to be reading a novel or anything, and you could probably get through it in an afternoon, a couple hours or whatever. And the other one of that I got was The Vampire by John Polidori. This is classes like the original vampire story, apparently not as good as Dracula, but it is the original story where the kind of idea of the vampire came from, and this was written the same in the same writing competition in which Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, where her and her husband Lord Byron and John Polidori were all shut up in this chalet in Geneva because the weather was so bad, and they were stuck in for weeks, and they challenged each other to write a ghost story. Mary Shelley came up with Frankenstein. She was probably the most successful out of them all, and we got John Polidori's The Vampire with that as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that's about, but I'll probably leave that until kind of October time. Then I've got some modern classics here. This one I won't go into too much because I have spoken about it before, but it's The Birds by Daphne du Maurier, which I picked up and read after I'd read Rebecca. And I'll just let you know what it says on the back here. A classic of alienation and horror, The Birds was immortalised by Hitchcock in its celebrated film. And then the 5 other chilling stories in this collection echo a sense of dislocation and mock man's sense of dominance over the natural world. So yeah, I've read the birds out of this book so far, but I haven't read the other 5 stories. So this is another kind of like, as I say, I want to be dipping into poetry, drama, essays, short stories this year. So having volumes like this about where you can just pick them up and read a story is useful. So that's that one. I also picked up Boating for Beginners by Jeanette Winterstone. This is a retelling, a very, very strange retelling of the Noah story in the Bible. Jeanette Winterstone is obviously the author of Oranges Are the Only Fruit. That's probably her most famous work, which most people have heard of. And Boating for Beginners, like, I read this when I was in advanced higher English as part of, like, I was doing my kind of extended essay on Jeanette Winterstone and her works, and this one I remember like my memory of it is just that it was a kind of funny retelling of the Noah story, and I started reading it a few weeks ago again because I picked up this second-hand copy, and it's so much more bizarre than I remember it. Like, so strange, but good, but just so much stranger than I ever remember it being. Like, 'cause I just had it in my head as being this like comedic story of the ark and the floods and stuff, but what it says here on the back is Winterstone has rewritten the book of Genesis and turned it into a surreal Cecil B. DeMille epic. Feminism and 20th century kitchenware run riot in the ancient city of Ur. Noah is Howard Hughes crossed with Frankenstein, an eccentric overseer of thriving capitalism who makes God by accident out of a piece of gâteau and a giant electric toaster. The result is a tetchy, omnipotent ice cream cone who decides to drown all who decides to drown all of the decadence of Winterstone's world, and curiously, that world resembles Queensway in a flood, out of which, of course, a more fitting myth can be born, i.e., that God was a benevolent old man with a white beard who loves us all. Occasionally, Winterstone ceases to be a jester and seriously explores the power of myth. They explain the universe while allowing the universe to go on being unexplained, and of faith. When the heart revolts, it wants outrageous things that cannot possibly be factual. I could have done with a bit more of this and less jokes about fast food, but I prefer depressing books, and Winterstone has proved with Oranges Are Only Fruit that she knows how to do both and how popular her wit is, and that was a review by Jane Solanas in Times Out at the time. So yeah, as you can probably tell by the blurb, very bizarre but funny, and just yeah. I've read about 70 pages of that so far, and yeah, it's very short, so yeah, I will finish it, but yeah, not at all how I remembered it in my head. Next up, again in TK Maxx, I picked up Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Chronicle of a Life Foretold. No, it's Chronicle of a Death Foretold, sorry. I was reading 100 Years of Solitude at the start of this year with the Harcourt Literature Book Club again, and I picked this up again, a very small, thin book, just over 100 pages. Don't know anything about it, just picked it up because it was in TK Maxx, it was a couple of pounds, and it was Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and this one says, Santiago Nassar was brutally murdered in a small town by 2 brothers. All the townspeople knew it was going to happen, including the victim, but nobody did anything to prevent it. 27 years later, an unnamed man arrives in the town to try and piece together the truth from the contradictory testimonies of the townsfolk. What happened to Santiago, he asks, and whose hands bear his blood? A novella of deep power and moral weight, and shot through with Marquez's characteristic inventiveness, Chronicle of a Death Foretold is a detective tale like no other. That sounds really good. So yeah, I picked that up for a few pounds. I'm telling you, TK Maxx, place to go. Also from TK Maxx, I've got 2 more here that I picked up in TK Maxx. I shouldn't be allowed in TK Maxx actually. This is Song of Solomon, which is also in the back catalogue for the book club by Toni Morrison. I also have Beloved on the shelf, which I haven't read. Beloved's her first novel, I believe. But yeah, this is Song of Solomon. And this says Song of Solomon begins in 1930s America when Macon Dent Jr., the son of wealthy black property owner who has been brought up to revere the white world, Macon learns about the tyranny of white society from his friend Guitar, though he is more concerned with escaping the familial tyranny of his own father. So while Guitar joins a terrorist group of poor blacks, Macon goes home to the south, lured by tales of buried family treasure. But his odyssey back home and a deadly confrontation with Guitar leads to the discovery of something infinitely more valuable than gold, his past and the origins of his true self. So yeah, looking forward to reading that. A very big classic of American literature. I do want to read more American stuff because I haven't done a lot lately, apart from like your kind of crime and thriller contemporary stuff, but I've got like Moby Dick up there. Like a lot of my favourite classics are American, like Catcher in the Rye. I love Catch 22. So yeah, I love The Secret History. So I am looking forward to reading a bit more American literature. The next 2 I picked up around kind of Halloween time. Didn't get around to them. This one again I picked up in TK Maxx. So it's Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. I've read Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, but I've not read anything else by him. This apparently is more horror. It says on the front here, darkly poetic, probably Bradbury's best work. And that's Stephen King saying that. So I would have thought people would have said Fahrenheit 451 would be his best work. So I'm intrigued by that. So it says, it's the week before Halloween and Cougar and Dark's Pandemonium Shadow Show has come to Greentown, Illinois. The siren song of the Calippo entices all with the promises of youth regained and dreams fulfilled. And as the 2 boys trembling on the brink of manhood set out to explore the mysteries of the dark carnival's smoke, mazes and mirrors, they will also discover the true price of their innermost wishes. So yeah, sorry, there's something all over the back of this. This is obviously been sitting somewhere. So Washington Post says it's a timeless rite of passage book. Somebody else says it's his most poignant evocation of hopes and frustrations in small time life. So yeah, sounds good. This is been thingied by the Fantasy Masterworks publisher in Gollancz. So yeah, I am intrigued to give it a go. I'll probably again leave it towards kind of September, October time. Alongside this one, which is Shirley Jackson, The Haunting of Hill House. I also have We Have Never Lived in the Castle, which I read last Halloween, not 2025, 2024 Halloween. But I'd like to reread it because I listened to it on audio, and I think it's really a book that you probably have to physically read to get the most out of. But yeah, so this is Alone in the World, Eleanor is delighted to take up Dr. Montagu's invitation to spend a summer in the mysterious Hill House. Joining them there are Theodora, an artistic sensitive, and Luke, heir to the house. But what begins as a light-hearted experiment is swiftly proven to be a trip into the darkest nightmares and an investigation that one of their number may not survive. So yeah, sounds good for spooky season. The next book that I picked up What's a modern classic, Penguin modern classic. I literally picked it up because of the name of the book. I know absolutely nothing about it, but I saw the name and I had to buy it. It is called I Never Promised You a Rose Garden by Joanne Greenberg. If you know me in real life at all, you will know that one of my karaoke songs, I say my karaoke song, I have a few. One of my karaoke songs is Rose Garden. My aunt used to always sing it, and I started singing it in my local karaoke, and yeah, it's kind of became one of my karaoke go-to songs. And obviously a line in that song is I never promised you a rose garden. So I saw this and I was like, I have to buy this book. From what I can see on the back, it's about a woman who has been in a psychiatric hospital, and she is trying to navigate her way back into the real world. So I will just read you the back here. 16-year-old Deborah's identity is shattering as she retreats further and further from the normal world into her imaginary kingdom of Ur, a fantastical inner refuge, both lush and horrifying. Sent to a psychiatric hospital, she must, with the help of a gifted psychiatrist, try to find a way back. Joanne Greenberg's fictionalised autobiography became a global bestseller on publication in 1964 and remains a wrenching account of mental illness. So yeah, okay, so it's a kind of semi-autobiographical novel. Didn't know that, but yeah, I really like books like that. I like what's the one? Girl Interrupted. I really like Girl Interrupted. I like The Bell Jar, books like that. So I hopefully should enjoy this. But yeah, I literally only bought it because it was called I Never Promised You a Rose Garden, and I have no regrets whatsoever about doing that. My next little pile here is I'll show you these quickly, but I've showed you them in several videos. I got a little poem anthology for Christmas, and then 2 literature anthologies for Christmas. One's just general literature, one's children's literature, and they're just to dip into over Christmas and to have in Christmas years to come to dip in and out of. The next pile here is just a little pile of non-fiction, and again, I mentioned this in my last book. I'm currently reading it just now. I am almost finished it, and it's just the Staying Relevant podcast book by Sam Thompson and Pete Wicks, and it's basically it's mostly just them having a conversation, like on the podcast, but telling you about how they kind of both became famous and how they came together, and then how they decided to start the podcast and what their plans are going forward. Then I got this because I was reading Emma, and it's also Jane Austen's 250th birthday. That was the other day on the 16th of December, and this book is by John Mullen, and it's called What Matters in Jane Austen, and it's basically like kind of 20 little kind of essays on different aspects of Jane Austen. So there's different chapters, and it's like, how much does age matter? Why is it too risky to go to the seaside? Do we ever see the lower classes? Is there any sex in Jane Austen? What do the characters say when the heroine isn't there? How much money is enough? What do the characters read? What is the right way and the wrong way to propose marriage? So things like that. So things that crop up time and time again in Jane Austen books. and it's like obviously little mini essays, not mini essays, they're just not like a chapter on each question. There's 20, so I thought that would be fun to read and have a look at. So I picked that up second hand. Another second-hand book that I picked up for studying is 50 Literature Ideas That You Really Need to Know, and this is more about kind of the kind of study of like the criticism point of literature and stuff. So we've got like little chapters on narrative, on gothic, on genre, on imagery, on illusion, on irony, allegory, structuralism, postmodernism, yeah, lots of different like little ideas. So like the epic, the classic, the lyrical, all that kind of thing. So yeah, it's just like kind of a little kind of short chapter on each idea. And then I also picked up Bibliotherapy, which is it's a book about how books, so the title here is Bibliotherapy, books to guide you through every chapter of life, and each chapter is about like different things that you could be going through. So if you want to read a book to help you with your confidence, or if you're going through a heartbreak, or if you became a new parent, or if you're going through grief and loss, or if you just feel a bit lost yourself and that you're lacking direction, if you want to feel creative, if you're going through a new beginning, there's a LGBTQIA plus identity chapter. There's like a chapter about first loves and great loves, and it's basically, there's a little kind of a few pages about that issue, and then it gives you recommendations about books to read if you're going through those things. So I'm really interested in bibliotherapy as a subject in general, because I do really believe that books can help you with mental health and stuff. So I am really interested to read that. And again, it's just a book that you can have handy and pick up when you need it as well. And then last in the non-fiction, but by no means least, because it is a big hefty book, The Mad Women in the Attic. Obviously I said that I read Jane Eyre and stuff this year, The Yellow Wallpaper, and this is basically a look into that kind of genre of books about how women were portrayed in novels. So it's called A Feminine Classics. This path-breaking book of literary criticism is now reissued with the introduction by Lisa Apignese that speaks to how the Mad Women in the Attic set the groundwork for subsequent generations of scholars writing about women writers, and why the book still feels fresh for some 4 decades later. So yeah, it's basically a look at literature from that viewpoint of how women are portrayed, and obviously the Mad Women in the Attic is the reference to Jane Eyre. So yeah, I am hoping to kind of work my way through that this year. I have one more pile of books to go through, and these are kind of contemporary books. A couple of them I have already mentioned, but most of them I haven't. So, incidents around the house I did mention in a previous video. I read it in October by Josh Malerman. I picked it up in October to read for the kind of Halloween season, but I did go into that in a previous video, so I won't bore you with that. And Love Mum I just reviewed in my November wrap up, so I won't go into that either. But Love Mum by Ileana Zander, again, a good thriller, would recommend it. I picked up a couple of little Christmassy vibe books literally after I posted my Christmas recommendation books, and literally said about 10 times in that video that I wouldn't have time to get to all these books. I then was in a shop and picked up 3 more Christmas style books. I have no shame. So I got the Gingerbread Bakery, which is obviously the is it Dream Harbour series by Laurie Gilmore. I mentioned the Christmas Tree Farm in the Christmas recommendation books, and this is the next kind of Christmassy one in her series, the Gingerbread Bakery. These are really fun, cozy, quick reads, romance books. So this one is, as owner of her beloved Gingerbread Bakery, Annie Andrews should have a love life to match her business, sugary and sweet. But instead she's locked in a battle of wills with an irritatingly upbeat bar owner down the street. Mac Sullivan has everything he wants, except the girl he dreams of. It's easier to argue with Annie than to get her to talk to him, but with Jeannie and Logan's wedding coming up, they're about to spend a lot more time together. As the snowflakes fall and with romance in the air, will Annie see that the one she loves to hate might just be her perfect match after all? So yeah, I don't know how this tiny town has all these like separate specific businesses. Like they have a pumpkin spice cafe, they've got a gingerbread bakery, they've got a cinnamon bun bookstore, they've got a strawberry cake pancake house, and then they've got the Christmas Tree Farm, and then there's another book that's something else, but they all seem very like bakery and cafe related, and I'm like, why is this tiny town got so much? Like, but anyway, yeah, if you want a kind of cozy romance to read, then pick up any of these. You can read them all probably as standalones, but a lot of the characters mentioned in that blurb there rang a bell from previous books, so it is probably best to read them in order, but I think you could probably read them as a standalone. And then I picked up this Murder at Midwinter, a school reunion, a party to die for, and this is by Ada Moncrief. And this says, December 1937, Daphne King is attending the 20th anniversary reunion at her secondary school, Midwinter Academy. Amidst the Christmas festivities, the weekend will see rivalries and alliances resurrected, but a string of peculiar incidents prompts Daphne to suspect that she and her friends are being sent messages or threats related to the disappearance of a classmate 20 years ago. It was a mystery that clouded their final year at school, and one that Daphne, as a budding 18-year-old sleuth, solved. When on the morning after the reunion, one of her old school friends is found dead, Daphne finds herself in the role of investigator once more, and are the two cases linked? And has Daphne learned from the mistakes of her past? So yeah, I thought that sounded quite cool. It's 250 pages long. I probably won't read it this year, but it will be waiting for me next year. School reunions are like my idea of absolute. I couldn't think of anything worse than a school reunion. I don't know about you. Like, I just think the thought of them is like, why? Why would you do it? But yeah, this is obviously set back in the 30s, so it's got that kind of Downton Abbey vibe because it looks like a big posh school. But yeah, I look forward to reading that whatever Christmas I get around to it, because like who knows at this point. And then this is Death Comes at Christmas, edited by Marie O'Regan and Paul Kane, And so this looks like it's stories by all different authors again, but they're all connected maybe. So 18 festive stories of murder and mystery in the grand tradition of Christmas crime fiction from the masters of the genre. The award-winning Marie O'Regan and Paul Cade invite you to a festive gathering of best-selling, critically acclaimed and award-winning writers in tribute to classic British period crime stories. From locked-room mysteries on Christmas Eve to devilish whodunits, the tales of simmering rivalries and unfolding at the dinner table, these 18 original seasonal tales will delight and shock at every twist and turn. So unwrap the presents, pour a mug of mulled wine, and follow the blood-stained footprints through the freshly fallen snow as winter descends and darkness lurks in the shadows. So yeah, it doesn't actually sound like they're related in stories. So yeah, again, you could just pick this up and read a few stories here and there. So there are 3 Christmas books that I bought that I didn't need to buy, but I did anyway because I clearly have no self-control whatsoever. And then I've got 2 more books to show you, and that will be us done for today. But yeah, I've got Robert Galbraith's The Hallmarked Man. I literally bought this when it came out. I don't know why I do it. I buy books in hardback. I prefer a paperback to a hardback, but books will come out and I'll be like, I need to read that, and I'll buy it, and then I don't read it, and then by the time I'm reading it, the paperback's out, and I'm really annoyed that I have the hardback and not the paperback, especially when it's a book like this where it's so heavy, and it's like a workout to like just hold it to be able to read it. So this is number, I don't know, I want to say 7 or 8. How many strike novels are there now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the 8th in the Strike series, and yes, I know there is controversy surrounding J.K. Rowling. I prefer to separate authors from their stories, because if we went back and if you go back in history and look at every author done, we wouldn't have any of the classics. We wouldn't be reading Dickens, we wouldn't be reading Tolstoy, we wouldn't be yeah, I think we have to separate the artist from their work sometimes. But yeah, so I do though think that these are this series started off so good, and then there's been a few books in the middle that have been a bit meh. There was one that was very much, I thought, directed towards the Harry Potter fandom. The one that it was all about toxic fandoms, and I think that was a kind of direct, not attack, but direct kind of it was directed at fandoms turning on the creator, type thing. Yeah, so then I think the latest ones haven't been as good as the original ones, and yeah, so I don't actually know what this one's about. A dismembered corpse is discovered in the vault of the silver shop. The police initially believe it to be that of convicted armed robber, but not everyone agrees with that theory. One of them is Decima Mullins, who calls on the help of private detective Conaman Strike, as she's certain the body in the vault was that of her boyfriend, the father of her newborn baby, who suddenly and mysteriously disappeared. The more Strike and his business partner Robin delve into the case, the more labyrinth it gets. The silver shop is no ordinary one. It's located beside Freemasons Hall and specialises in Masonic silverware. And in addition to the armed robber and Decima's boyfriend, it becomes clear that there are other missing men who could fit the profile of the body in the vault. As the case becomes ever more complicated and dangerous, Strike faces another quandary. Robin seems increasingly committed to her boyfriend, policeman Ryan Murphy, but Strike's impulse to declare his own feelings for her is becoming stronger than ever. So yeah, this one is about 900 pages long. The writing is tiny, and that's probably partly the reason why I haven't picked it up yet, because I really want to read that, and then I'm like, but I could read 4 other books instead. But I will read it. I will read it because I've read all the other ones. So there's that, and then I also got Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid as soon as it came out because it's Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I love all her books. I absolutely love Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Daisy Jones and the Six, and Carrie Soto is back are probably my top 3. But every other one that I've read by her, I've also loved. And this is her new one from this year, from 2025, and it says, in the summer of 1988, astrophysics professor Joan Goodwin begins training to be an astronaut at Houston's Johnson Space Center. Alongside an exceptional group of fellow candidates, Top Gun pilot Hank Redmond, mission specialists John Griffin and Lydia Danes, warm-hearted Donna Fitzgerald and Vanessa Ford, the magnetic and mysterious aeronautical engineer. As new astronauts prepare for their first flights, Joan finds a passion and a love she never imagined and begins to question everything she believes about her place in the observable universe. Then, in December of 1984, on mission STS-LR9, everything changes in an instant. So yeah, it sounds like another great one from Taylor Jenkins Reid. Why I've not read it yet, I have no idea. Like, I'm so annoyed at myself, but I will definitely be reading this in early 2026. Why did I say 2026? 2026. Early 2026. This will be getting read. The Robert Galbraith one, I'm not so sure. That can be read at any time. But this one I really, really want to get to. So that is everything that I bought in the last 3 months. So one of my goals for next year, for 2026, why am I struggling so much to say 2026? One of my goals is to buy less books, but that has been a goal several times over for a long, long time. So whether I actually manage that, who knows? But I was thinking of maybe like only buying new books for studying and for book club, and that could be a rule that I don't buy any books unless it's for studying or it's for book club, so it's assigned for that. Or I could still buy books but only buy second hand, so I'm not buying into consumerism, as like mindless consumerism as much. But the problem with me is, like, I scroll on my phone and I see a book and I'll just be like, add to cart, and I just buy it, and yeah, I think it's because it's too easy to buy books. I think if I had to actually physically make my way to a shop to buy books, I'd buy less. But because it's just so easy to buy books online that you just like click it, is why I buy so many. So yeah, I'm going to definitely put some sort of ruling in place where I only buy, because I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm not buying any books in 2026, because it's just not going. It's not gonna happen. It's definitely not gonna happen. So, but if I could put a couple of rules in place that will maybe curb it a little bit, like, so it'll definitely be something like only buying second hand, or only buying a certain amount per month, or only buying them if it's for these reasons, i.e. studying or for book club or whatever, or only buying so many new releases, or like something like that will be put in place. But saying that I will not buy any is just I know I'm lying, you know I'm lying, everyone around me knows I'm lying. Yeah, so yeah, it was a lot of books. I should really be ashamed, but like, honestly, I have no regrets. Like, I will hopefully be here in a few months' time with a book haul that is a lot less substantial than this, but yeah, I I'll definitely not buy as many next year. But yeah, thank you for listening to that long list of books. Hopefully, you found something in there that interested you. And who knew that there was a book with a line from one of my favourite songs? Like, so looking forward to reading that, and also so looking forward to telling my auntie that this book exists, because like, it was her song before it was my song. And next video coming up is the long awaited first reviews of my 40 for 40 books, books 1 to 5. So I'll be reviewing books 1 to 5 of the 40 books that were recommended to me by different friends and family, for my 40th. So I will be reviewing books 1 to 5 of them in the next video. So if you're interested in seeing that, then please do tune in. And until then, thank you for watching.